Hi, welcome to WoW Flash. This is my weekly look at the news coming from Warcraft on anything to do with World of Warcraft at all from the past 7 days, and then I go over my sort of streaming schedule at the end of the video. So, Blizzard did their live Q&A on patch 7.3 yesterday with Ian Hazzikostas and Law. There was a lot of very interesting things in it, which I will of course be doing several videos on. I usually plan on doing a video where I comment on these developer responses, but there's actually going to be several because they weren't just saying some very interesting things about 7.3, and one of which was, and this is why I'm sort of quite glad, I usually put off doing videos on the new patch until the new patch is relatively imminent, and this sort of justifies it because I was going to do one on the Netherlight Crucible, which of course I still am. And they said in this Q&A that the Netherlight Crucible is not going to be available until the third week of patch 7.3, which is sort of good and bad. But, you know, I was there on the assumption that we're going to have to do all the content that leads up to it. And there's quite a bit to do to unlock the Netherlight Crucible in time for the raid. But in actual fact, that's not going to happen. It's going to come online in the third week. So it's sort of time gated again, but not in a really negative way like Nighthold, I think is fair to say. I got the very strong impression from Nighthold, I don't think I was the only one, that it was time gated over such a period of time because what they really want to do, Blizzard, is stop people sort of subscribing when a patch comes out, and just for a month and then going off again. You can't really level that criticism at them this time, because it's taking place over, well, really a 2-week cycle, because, you know, 15 days really, to unlock all the content. Well, that's well within the 1 month that people would subscribe for anyway. So I think that, you know, I'll take them at their word that the reason they want to do it is so that they don't just throw you all the stuff there and you're in a bit of a mess as to what to do. They want a certain narrative. It's the way World of Warcraft works. And it leads itself into that narrative to unlock things over a 3-week period rather than a 1-week period, which is fair enough. So that was something that was not apparent from PTR testing. There are another couple of things that were also not apparent from PTR testing that are coming as well, which again I'll go into more detail. But one really interesting one is, so at the moment when you get a new character to level cap, whether you're a new player or just leveling an alt or something like that, of course, you have to do the class order hall quest chain to unlock your third relic, for example. It is now the pattern that when you get these characters up there, you can get really good gear. I mean, I was in like, blimey, something like 870 item level before I had my third relic unlocked on my rogue, which is my most recent alt, to get to level cap. And but what they're going to say is in 7.3, that's not going to be the case. You're going to automatically get your third relic slot. You're not going to have that time-gated thing there. And also, you're not going to have to do the stuff on the Broken Shore to unlock the new artifact traits. That's just going to be set in there now. It's just going to be a standard. So as the expansion goes on, some of the stuff they put in earlier on is no longer relevant in their words, so that's going to be removed. So that's sort of good news. But yeah, there was loads of things to discuss, so I'll go over those in separate videos anyway. So, for collectors as well, there's a new mount and new pet just come onto the WoW online store as well, for anyone interested in those, particularly Kitty fans. I think you're going to be quite pleased about those. Then, in terms of raiding news, Mistress Sassine, at least on Mythic mode, has been nerfed now. It's not like the health nerf or anything like that to make the DPS check a bit easier. It's purely in terms of mechanics, which clowns such as the Muppet Show that I'm in can't really deal with at the moment. So it's a little bit more forgiving if you kill ads a bit too quickly, which we certainly do. It's a little bit more forgiving in phase 3 with the inks and things like that as well. Plus you get a little bit longer to get out of the way of the big shark in the middle. I think that sort of gives you a little bit of extra time. So it's sort of nerfs to ease on the mechanics, I think, rather than the DPS side of it. Argus raid testing has begun. So there was a bit of, you know, I don't know what's the right word to use at this, bemusement maybe, that raid testing on Argus has begun when there's only like a very small number of guilds or even completed mythic progression. So that leaves very few people who'd actually be able to do the testing, at least seriously. But that is the pattern of things now. That is the way Blizzard are going to have it with their regular releases. They did note that this PTR testing, though, is going to go all the way right up to the release of the Argus raid, because Antaurus the Burning Throne is what it's called, because that's not coming out with 7.3, of course. That is the one piece of content, just as been the pattern throughout Legion. You know, when patch 7.3 goes out, it is the content minus the raid. The raid will come out later. Quite when, I'm sort of reckoning just after BlizzCon. Some people are thinking, but I don't think it'd be right before. I've mentioned that before. So we're looking at, I think, a November release for that. But so there's going to be a lot of testing, I think, is what they're saying. So, but the fact that it's started now, yeah, caused a little bit of amusement. There was another new PTR build this week. It may be one of the latter ones because it looks now imminent. Patch 7.3. I was saying this last week, but the fact that they have done this Q&A now means that it's sort of set in stone. And once it's set in stone, all they really need to do before they release it is make sure that there's no bugs, as far as they can at any rate. So there was a few things added to the PTR. There were new set bonus items for the tier 21, which of course is not coming out just yet. There's also a slew of changes to various abilities for different classes and specs as well. And also, if you go onto the PTR and you want to check some content out yourself, remember there's 3 new zones, so there's multiple quests required to unlock various pieces of content. But they've put an NPC in there, so if you just want to go in a character and just test a piece of content without doing all the stuff that builds up to it, you can do that. It is an oversized gnome for some reason in Dalaran that you can talk to, and it will just basically give you all the quests. So which means you can go straight to the Netherlight Crucible if that's what you want to do, or straight to the dungeon to test that out, or, you know, whatever it is. And that's basically it for the news for this week. So on to sort of streaming news, and I've expanded my streaming a little bit. So the schedule that I initially set up when I started streaming sort of properly a few months ago was the Tuesday evening one. All these times, of course, from the UK point of view. So when I say evening, of course, for you, it might be like afternoon or morning even, or even much later. But the evening ones, which tend to start at 7 p.m. So the Tuesday talk was really good this week. In fact, it was amazing. It's probably the best one ever. In fact, it ended up going on for 3 hours. Now, the way these started is I envisaged them as being like half an hour to discuss a particular topic, and then maybe another half an hour for me to just sort of go through general stuff that people want to bring up. And then it was quite clear right from the start when I started these a few months ago that they were lasting about 2 hours, and it was just, never mind me having to bring a particular topic, people are really good at throwing their own stuff in there, and we end up just talking for 2 hours. But yeah, this week, I don't know what it was we were talking about, I've forgotten now, but we seem to go on for 3 hours, but you know, it goes on for as long as it goes on for. So other streams I tend to do now, so I've expanded it, so it's almost every day at 7 p.m. there will be some sort of stream, which it's every day apart from Saturday. But remember, on Saturday I do them in the afternoon, so 3 p.m. again UK time. So there's a stream every day, and of course, while it's summer, that's quite easy to do, and it's on various things. Like sometimes it'll be my raid guild streaming Tomb of Sargeras, such as the circus act we were pulling yesterday. Sometimes it will be like Elder Scrolls Online, so I'm going to be doing a bit of that tonight, for example. And a lot of the other time it'll be Lord of the Rings Online, because new expansion has just come out for that. I've been quite heavily involved in that because I've, you know, invested quite a bit. I've bought the super duper expansion set for that because that wasn't cheap, and a few other things as well, so that I could boost some characters, so I can actually get into that content. So I'm definitely heavily invested in doing some more of that. So quite a lot of my general gameplay will be Lord of the Rings Online, but there will also be, as I say, the Saturday afternoon is usually out working LFR, and Friday evenings I've thought I'll do a bit of Elder Scrolls Online, or Lord of the Rings Online. I haven't yet decided what I'm going to do tonight. Ordinarily, I think I would like to keep it at Elder Scrolls Online, but maybe tonight it'll be Lord of the Rings Online again, just because of the new expansion and all the rest of it. Now, when summer finishes in a few weeks and I go back to work, I was thinking, you know, it might be doable for me to still continue with that. So I would still hope to stream every day, but some of it may be a bit not quite as scheduled. So the two key days where it's very difficult to schedule are Thursday and Monday. And the reason for those is because that's our guild raid, so that's what I would generally stream. But of course, if I'm not involved in them for whatever reason, then it may well, I'll still stream, but I may well just go on to another game or do some world quests or something like that as well. Still always available for the chat. And if you do see me in raid and I'm on progress, you can still throw things into the chat, it's still visible. I obviously don't look at it when we're on a pull, but I will usually check it out between pulls. So you can still put things into the chat there. I put the chat box in such a position that it's not in my eye line at all when I'm focusing on an actual progress boss, so it's not going to be distracting. So that's fine too. So my Twitch channel, by the way, is in the description below, as is Twitter. When I do an unscheduled stream, so sometimes I'll just, if I decide to play a game for a few hours, I'll just generally stream anyway, because it's no big deal just to add a stream onto it. And you get a notification there if you follow me on Twitch. But I also sometimes will put that in Twitter as well if it's an unscheduled one. If I'm sort of thinking of doing it, I'll give a bit of notice in Twitter. So follow me on Twitter as well for those sort of things. Also, you can follow me on Twitter because you get notifications for videos that I've put up on YouTube. And as I say, this weekend, the main focus will be on what Blizzard were talking about for 7.3. But they actually also seem to spend about 2/3 of the time talking about stuff that's live now, which is also very interesting. But anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with other people. And until next time, I'll see you later.